Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I am your host, Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 in the Gulf Coast and 107.7 in beautiful New Orleans. If you would like to stay up to date with all of the amazing shows that UPRN has, there's always new shows coming onto the network. So if you want to check out what UPRN has to offer, please head to their website, uprntalkradio.com. Follow them on all of the social medias. We do have thousands of archived shows on all the major podcast platforms. So if you head to anywhere that you listen to your podcasts, you will find us. Just look up UFO Paranormal Radio or United Public Radio Network, and you will find us. You can also watch us live on YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Twitch, I believe. All of that's always shifting and changing, so make sure that you're checking us out on social media to find that. If you are liking what you are hearing and seeing with Spirit Switchboard, please take a moment to like, subscribe, follow, sharing. Sharing is caring, caring is sharing. Please let your friends and family know, and I would love to see you here. So if you are new here, thank you for being here. If you've been following for a while, thank you for being a supporter. I appreciate you, and I'm very grateful for you being here. I am a psychic medium based out of Guelph, Ontario, Canada. You can find me at carrielynshellhorn.com. If you want to get my newsletter, I promise I'm too... I am too busy and ADHD to email you more than once in a month. So if you sign up for the newsletter, I promise that is all the email that you're going to get from me. But in that newsletter, you are going to get where I'm going to be next, exclusive offers, classes that are coming up, the Spirit Switchboard guest list. Life happens though, and sometimes switches and changes do happen. So you get that, and you do get some intuitive tips as well too. So please consider signing up for that newsletter. So, hi Denise, thank you for being here. Hi James. James, if you want to plug your YouTube channel, if you want to listen to some music, James does have a YouTube channel, and you can listen along to his music. Hi Heidi, thanks for being here. Yeah, comment with the link, James. It's all about community, right? Oh, thank you, Heidi. I will take all of the love I can get, and please know I'm returning it tenfold. I appreciate all of your support and friendship. So let me get to our guest bio, because there's so much to talk about tonight. The time is going to fly by really fast. So Nancy Thames is a lifelong contactee, writer, and advocate for the understanding of extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings. She is a former Department of Defense employee who has dedicated her life to sharing the insights and wisdom she has gained from her experience with higher frequency entities, with the goal of helping humanity ascend into greater awareness of our place in the cosmos. Please welcome to the show, Nancy Thames. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love having these conversations. I know we're going to have fun.
Well, and okay, so fun is the key word, because one of the words that I wrote down was fear and dismantling fear. But before we get to that conversation, before we start digging deep, for those people who haven't had the privilege of meeting you or knowing your story, could you give us a little bit of a background about where it all started? I know that's probably saying a little bit of a background is hard, but if you could share where things started for you.
Sure. Well, my name is Nancy Thames. I'm a lifelong contactee with many different dimensional races or interdimensional races. I like to call them interdimensional, but they are also called many different names, like the elders, tall grays, all kinds of grays. There's many, many different races of grays. So I interact with many, many different races over the period of 64 years. I'm 64 years old, and this all started for me. My first conscious memories are around 2 to 3 years old. I remember that young, them interacting with me and coming into my room. And I can remember telling my parents, there's like there's beings in my room, and they would just laugh it off and think that I was having a very imaginative dream. So that continued on throughout my life. Just different times, they would come and appear, and they were all constantly teaching me things, constantly making me feel loved and boasting. It was fun. They made it very interactive and fun. So I learned a lot of things. And to be honest with you, I was fine with all this until I got to about junior high or my teenage years. When I got into my teenage years and I was reading books on my own, and I had been told by my parents not to talk about these kind of things because I grew up in the South, in the area of the Bible Belt, and these things were considered demonic or a mental health issue. So my parents said, you cannot talk about this kind of stuff. People will make fun of you. People will label you. You can't do it. So I learned at a very young age that the world and the people around me were not ready to talk about this. So I just didn't talk about it outside, my home. And, and I think my parents, at the point, they just would say at a certain point, that's enough of that. You need to, focus on other things that, and I think they thought that it was kind of imagination, but now I believe that my father always knew what it was, but he just didn't want to say anything. So it's kind of funny. And I'm hoping, we talked about this a little earlier, that I'm hoping that our future generation of children who most likely have these type of interactions, we as parents will be more in tune with our children and have a better awareness of the world around us, and that there is life all around us, and that, we should listen to what our children are telling us. Sometimes they know a whole lot of information, and I believe that their DNA is tweaked to to reach higher levels of consciousness that we were not privileged to, because we are moving out of this 3D world into a fourth and fifth dimension. And these children are they're going to be more prepared for it than us as adults who are now having to go through all these ascension changes and stuff. So, I have nothing horrible to say. There were periods in my life that I simply did not understand my experiences. So I experienced being scared. I experienced seeing my children having their first contact for the first time when they were young. And that made me very angry and I felt very helpless, because I felt like being a mother, I wanted to be a part of that, and I was not. I was only privy to witness it, which I realize now they could have done it without me ever knowing. But everything that these beings do, it serves a higher purpose. And we never understand it at the point of time that it happens to us, because our mental capacity is not on that level of understanding. But we're becoming more aware. And, as I've gotten older, and they've gifted me 3 consecutive Kundalini awakenings, that really is, opened up my subconscious into my human conscious and allowed me to piece all these bits and pieces together that for a long time was just very confusing, which is normal. A lot of people are scared of these things, and it's understandable because of the fact that we don't understand these things, and because we've been told all this misinformation and all this fear. We've been taught to be afraid. It's been instilled in our movies, our media, in books. We only hear the bad stories. It's like on the news. When do you ever hear good news on the news? It's always, the worst case scenario news is on there. And people like to make money off some of this stuff. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of that kind of stuff is what sells. It's what draws and sells box office seats to movies and books and things of this nature. So there's a lot of misinformation, and I hope to be able to clear that up. And I believe our younger generation will have a better understanding and will not go through all this silly processes that we as adults are having to go through right now.
I agree with you in so many levels. And first, I want to apologize for all of a sudden having a coughing fit. So I apologize for that. There's so many things that I want to touch on that you just shared with us. Thank you so much. I agree 100% about the fear and starting at home and interdimensional, like oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. My ADHD brain is hitting all the D's right now, and I've got 18 tabs open in my head. So I have 4 children, and my first experience that I remember, but I've had rememberings over the last year intensely. But the first one that I consciously remember connecting with interdimensionally, that was ET, was helping me with my oldest son, who is in the spectrum. And when he was helping me, or I'm saying he right now, I'm not sure why, because I've always just referred to it as they, because I couldn't tell a particular gender, but they were working and they showed me it was like DNA structures over top of DNA structures. It was in helping him be grounded because he was in the spectrum. He was just different. And what I realized was that he was kind of tapping into so many different places interdimensionally on his own. And that guide was helping him. So is that something that you have also seen in your experiences or people sharing or within your community? Yeah.
Different people, you know, experience these things totally different ways. The core parts of it, you know, are all pretty much the same, that they instill. They want us to look within, understand who we are on a soul level. You know, they want us to appreciate our connections with our planet, you know, and take better care of it, be better stewards. You know, they want us to learn to be more positive human beings. Being human, they don't expect us to be perfect. You know, humans are not perfect. We will probably never be perfect, but we can be a better version of ourselves. We can strive to be better. So they want us to work at being more positive. And, you know, it's been really hard for all of us to do because the 3D realm is a negative realm. The 3D realm is the place where all these wars, negative behaviors, all these evil things can occur. And the object is to evolve or ascend into higher levels, because we will obtain higher intelligence, higher awareness. And I'm not saying that we won't ever have a disagreement or always see eye to eye with someone, but with our new intellect and intelligence, we will learn to play in the sandbox together and work it out without having a war, work it out without having evil outcomes and ugliness. So in the way that they've shown me is, it's kind of like, this is how their races, all these races that are in dimensions higher than us, they've all had to evolve to get to where they are. They are billions of years ahead of us in evolution. And the way they decide is like, we're going up a DNA ladder. And as we go up this ladder, little by little, humanity will realize that negativity and warlike ways, all these things that no longer serve us, will start to just fall off, and we'll learn to not pay attention, and we'll lose interest in it. So you'll find that if there's somebody that you love, you can still love somebody, but if they're just totally negative, thinks that the world's going to end, just negative, you'll find that part of this process is that you'll just simply walk away. You'll kind of like split. It's kind of like that's what this shift is going to be. It's like we're going to learn to focus. And I know a lot of people already, they're getting to where they don't watch the news. They don't watch certain things on TV. A lot of them don't even subscribe to all these networks and stuff. They pick and choose what they want to watch, because once you start raising your frequency, it feels really good. It's kind of like you hear about people that go running for these long distances, and they talk about how they can get like this euphoric type feeling. When you raise your frequency, it feels really good. And you find that when you start someone that's just really negative around you and it starts draining your energy and frequency, you'll just simply, go a separate direction from them, go in a separate room, or, you'll find that certain people you'll disassociate from. And that's part of this ascension process, because we're changing. All of humanity's changing.
And separating from them doesn't mean lack of love or lack of care. It's separating with compassion.
Yes. So for them, they'll either realize that their ways are not working for them and they'll want to change. But if they don't, we are all here on free will. That's, something that they'll have to work out if they want to change with the rest of the world, or if they don't. And that, and I don't know how, well, I kind of know how some of those scenarios will work out, but what they simply told me is that for whatever reason, it doesn't necessarily mean any catastrophe or anything like that. It's just that you will find that some people will just kind of like disappear from your life. And it's not that, it's just that you kind of outgrow certain friends, or,
frequencies change.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, and they say that, this is how they did it. We just will realize, like wars, what has wars ever done for us? Except make the people that own the weapon companies really, really rich. There's a lot of people that make money off of these wars, and then there's us that it does not serve humanity. And we're realizing that these old ways, some of these old ways that we live in, in the past no longer serve us. And we're going to start changing, we're going to start paying attention to more about what is in our food, what is in our water, and these things cannot happen overnight. But as we become more intelligent and come together and realize that, by coming together, we are all one and we're all connected. And we realize our voice becomes even stronger once we get all connected, and we can start to make the progressive moves that humanity needs, for one thing, we should be given all this technology that's, I'd say that they've been certain elites have been sitting on, because they can't make money off a healthy, intelligent human being. So, they want to keep us dumbed down and taking synthetic pharmaceutical drugs. So, we're going to wise up to all these things on a humanity level and take actions and start to make changes that, we can extend our longevities of life. We should be living much longer. We should be eating healthier, and we should be less focused on materialistic things. And that will be one of the things that we'll start to notice. And like I said, these things cannot happen overnight and won't happen overnight, but little progressive moves will start moving us in the right direction to get us back in harmony. And once we get back in harmony and connected with each other, we'll be more in harmony with our planet. And we'll see that there's less destructive weather, less destructive events around on our planet when we're all kind of equalizing on the same frequency and working together as one. Mm-hmm. And basically that's what the extraterrestrials, they've just been waiting for us to reach this level of consciousness, level of understanding and awareness. There's only so much they can do because we're here on free will. But when we get to this point that we're ready to be on that intellectual level, they're ready to assist us, not control, not take over, assist.
Am I saying the phrase right? Energy flows where your thoughts go. Have
Yes.
you heard that before? So energy flows where your thoughts go. So
Yes.
always being mindful of our choices. Every thought, word, deed, or action is contributing in some way. So how is it that you're contributing, positive or negative, in all the choices that we're making, right?
Exactly. And what I do when I first started doing this, back when I had my Kundalini awakening, getting close to 3 years ago now, but whenever, I mean, being human and growing up in this negative realm, we're automatically going to have negative thoughts. I mean, that's just the way we were raised. So when I have a negative thought, I catch myself and I replace it with two positive thoughts, and after a while, you will get in the habit of thinking more positive. And as you do, your body will start to reward you, and you'll feel the frequency change in your body. It responds to it. And it's kind of like we're finally getting to where we're getting to be the version of a human being that we were intended to be.
And showing ourselves forgiveness and grace when we go off filter, right? So as long as we're not sitting in that muck for a long period of time, but we put our tools in place, we're making progress. So showing ourselves grace when we're in progress. I'm always, not that I get to that place very often, but when I do, it's clear, cancel, delete, and thank you very much for just transmuting that back into love. As fast as possible. If I stuck it out, I just want it to come back in a nice way and transmit it back to love. And it's intention, right? Our intentions in those thoughts.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things. I did an article earlier today. It's like, even our language, there's a lot of things in our language that needs to be changed. We're looking at it's not a matter of looking at, we are going to have contact with these beings probably sooner than later. And we need to start rearranging our English language. We should eliminate the word alien. We should eliminate even the word abducted. We should educate ourselves more and more and talk to contactees, lifelong contactees and experiencers, and these people that have done these 6-year surveys on experiencers and contactees and have really good information on what is the truth and what is the misinformation. And a lot of people are going to be shocked at some of the things that these surveys and a lot of hypnosis sessions have come out with. It's not going to be a lot of this stuff that people think is so horrible and sounds so terrible is not true at all.
My niece, so I have been able to connect with the other side from the time I was little.
Yeah.
It's just in our family structure. My sister does not enjoy being sensitive at all. She does her very best to try to push it away. She will text me sometimes in the morning going, hey, something bothered me in the night and I sent them your way. Go bug my sister is what I said. So that's where they're at. But her daughter, my niece, she has a visceral reaction if you start to talk about anything interdimensional, extraterrestrial. We can't even bring it up as a topic of conversation because she falls apart. Her fear is so thick. So for those parents, and I mean, she's my niece, but she's an adult now, a young adult. She's a young adult, but she is in her early 20s. So for those people who are holding fear, what suggestions do you have, maybe for those of us that are supporting them, to help them move through some of that?
Yeah, there are therapists that specifically work with individuals of this nature, because a lot of it could be karmic things from our past lives that have pulled over into this life. A lot of times they'll do a deep hypnosis session. I think a lot of people follow Dolores Cannon's. There's a special word for her type of hypnosis, but it goes really deep. And a lot of them get down to the source, the root of where the fear stems from. And it's not from extraterrestrials. It's usually something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The
but
idea of,
that's not unusual. It's not, these things, it's very real to these people. Their experience, and it's real, but it's being identified in the wrong way, misunderstood in the wrong way. So that's why some of those people, they train to deal with situations like this. And I think that all of our mental health clinics should have experience or meetings and things of this nature, especially as we continue in closer to where we have full contact, because we need to address these issues before they land.
Yeah. Heidi is just sharing, my youngest was like that. She was terrified of ETs and wouldn't allow us to talk about it. Denise was commenting as you were talking about Dolores Cannon,
Yeah, that's it right there.
T. And Heidi is following up also with, I was just going to ask what Nancy's thoughts are about Dolores Cannon's views. And to be honest, we can resonate and not resonate with bits and pieces because we're all vibrationally.
Yeah. I stay really, really busy, and I try to do my own thing because I agree. Want outside influences. That doesn't mean that I don't believe anything they're saying. I'm just trying to stay true to what my downloads are and what my experiences are, because I feel like we're all going to get to the point, from what I've been told and what I've been taught, we all have the potential. We just need to look within ourselves, get to know ourselves on a soul level. For me, I'm not the Nancy Thames that, was born 64 years ago and the world around me created. I now know who I truly am, the Nancy Thames that incarnated here from the interdimensional realm, from the elders. I made a choice to come to Earth and be a part of this evolutionary process in humanity. This is the biggest thing that's happened since our creation. And a lot of us, we all made a choice to come to Earth, and we're all a part of this, whether we wake up and remember. And I think that's part of the ascension, is that we are going to start to realize who we truly are by looking within. And what I do is I meditate to my subconscious and ask my subconscious to open up into my human consciousness. And, any blockages, like, the human brain will block out certain traumatic events or fear. I ask it to open up and share with me in the way that I can, digest it. And I ask constantly I meditate to the elders and interdimensionals and extraterrestrials to help me as well. And if we ask for help within our soul, our higher self will come forward. Our higher self knows just as much more than anybody else. We shouldn't be paying other people to tell us. We all have this knowledge. And it's kind of weird. It's the way that I explain this, and the way that I've learned about this, or the way that I visualize it and try to explain it. So it's kind of like, remember back in the old days when your parent went and got a TV, and it's before we had the cable and the internet and stuff, and they'd set the black and white TV down, and they'd take the TV ears and they'd be moving it around, because there's all these radio waves and frequencies in the air, and then you move it just certain ways and you pick up and you get a picture on the station. So if you think about us, we have like these little invisible antennas, and as we reach higher levels of consciousness, all this frequency, all this information is all around us. And as we reach higher levels, we're tapping in to knowledge. We're tapping into all this stuff that's just sitting there waiting for us to reach this point. It's there for us. We just have to get ourselves focused, and meditate is a great way, and just start tapping into this information. And you'll find that you'll just have tons of information that your higher self already knows. Your higher self knows your purpose here on Earth, why you came here. So you can tap into these things individually, and we won't need to go to like I don't want to say names, but we won't have to ask other individuals. We have the potential to do these things ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's non-thinking. Like some people really struggle with meditation. So it's whatever can put you into a non-thinking mode, if it's going for a walk out in nature or.
Nature is a great place.
Mm-hmm.
Just being silent sometimes, being
Yeah.
silent out under a tree, away from traffic, and listening to the sounds of the planet, somewhere, just having quiet time on your own somewhere. I don't think we have to sit down and be like what we've seen on TV, like those
lotus position for 8 hours.
Yeah, I don't do that. You don't have to do that.
Neither.
It's more like what you said. And also, before I go to sleep at night, I ask for them to enter my dream state and give me information. And that's a perfect way, because our boundaries are not, we don't have our defenses up in our dream state. Yeah. We're easier to contact, and they can just fill us with all kinds of information. So I think it's really important that people learn to and understand we all have, a lot of potential and we've been dumbed down for so long in this 3D world, but we all have these abilities. We really do.
Yeah. I encourage people to add in, if they're going to do dream time stuff, that they receive the information in a way that they see, hear, feel, and remember in the morning, because people get so wigged out about, like, I don't understand. I got this information. What am I supposed to do with it? And they make it way bigger than it needs to be, just, instead of just rolling with it. So if you could talk about what a download would, like what that actually means, or.
Well, for me, when I first started getting downloads, it was like I would start to know all this information, and I would say, well, where did this information come from? I wanted affirmation. I wanted to know, where is it coming from? So that's why they gave me the Kundalini experience, because I went through the physical act of the surges and the downloads. So I knew that, that had opened me up, and I understood. So don't be expecting to hear voices in your head. It's not like that, even being psychic is not like, well, I'm only psychic really with the extraterrestrials and stuff. And I'm telepathic, and we communicate that way. But, it's not like you walk in the craft and you all of a sudden hear all of them having communication. It doesn't work like that. It's everybody has a frequency. Our frequency is our signature, just like our fingerprint. Our frequency is our signature. So you're tuning into different frequencies. So you only hear the person that you're talking to. You don't hear, like on TV, they make it sound like you're just going, oh, I can't go outside. I hear everybody. It's not like that. There's so much misinformation in the world, and it makes people think that when you do have these things, you're a weirdo or something. So it's
a cult leader.
Yeah. So, there's not voices. You just know things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an aha or a plop of information that comes from nowhere. Yeah. I know. My least favorite question when I've been in a session, and I don't get asked it anymore. Like, I've been doing this full time for 18 years now. So my least favorite question always was what my spirit guide's name is. And I used to tell everybody Bob. So when I taught the class is called Who's Your Bob? Because I'm like, they don't care. You could call them Bob. It's the frequency. It's the vibe. You will know who you're connecting with, because you're going to lean in and just know their frequency. You're going to know their vibe. It'll feel different than your grandparent.
And you'll know that they're male or female. And for me, I'm around like some hybrid type grays, and then I'm around like the tall grays, all the other humanoids, reptilians, aquatic beings. And when they're telepathic with me, all the humanoids and the grays, tall grays, I can tell whether they're male and female, and I can sense inflection, you know, like in their telepathic messages, like if they're being a little comical or if they're being a little matter of fact type feeling, you know. But the hybrids now, that is more like a download. It's like there's no, I understand their frequency, whether they're male or female, but the telepathic messages are more bland for them. Yeah.
But you were a former Department of Defense employee. So going from a former Department of Defense employee to talking very publicly about receiving information from interdimensional beings, well, it's brave to start with. It's brave to be transparent with your story.
Well, to be honest with you, the extraterrestrials, they put me in that position. They wanted me to experience that. Everything in my life, I've lived in Australia, I've lived all these Hawaii, I've lived all these different places, and everywhere I was, it was for a reason. It was a learning experience, and they wanted me to understand what it was like. I worked with soldiers that were fixing to be deployed to war, to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wow.
I worked in a dental clinic, getting them medically, dentally ready to deploy and be away from a clinic for like 24 months. So they wanted me to experience that. And, you know, this sounds really bizarre, but I have face-to-face physical contact with these beings. So everything that I experience, they experience as well. So through my eyes, they're experiencing everything I experience. So a lot of what I've done in those kind of cases is because it's something they wanted to see for themselves.
Oh, that's so seeing through your eyes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. That happens how I work when I'm doing sessions for people, connecting them with their loved ones. Their loved ones always show me through their eyes. It's seen from their experience, what's happening at the time of their death and where they went, who's waiting for them, like I'm experiencing from them. So that's very interesting that they're kind of overlaying you to see
the best
experience from your vantage point, your perception.
The best way to understand what it's like to be a human being is to send and incarnate here and to see through the lens of my eyes. You know, they truly understand what our struggles are, what our problems are, you know, where we keep getting things wrong, etc. So it's really important. And I would say probably, I don't know this for a fact, but I know that I am incarnated. They showed me a vision. I saw myself being born. I saw my essence as a elder or interdimensional being. I saw my soul essence going into my mother, and they let me watch myself being born. So, you know, and I'm sure they've done that with a lot of other people too, you know.
So do you feel it's generational, that the generation above you or maybe above them are also having these connections, but not having the language or the conscious awareness to be able to have the conversation about it?
This is all on a soul level. It is not a DNA genetic blood thing, you know, like, you know what I mean? How everybody says, oh, I'm RH negative, I must be an extraterrestrial. It's not about that. You know, there's definitely significant things about, you know, like the Bass people and stuff. They're definitely different than a lot of us. But it is, I think that I think everybody, to be honest with you, truthfully, everybody that has an experience, some kind of contact, either you are of direct lineage, like a incarnate from them, or you made a soul agreement or soul contract to be part of this evolutionary process for humanity. You know, I know that we all chose to come to Earth, and we all are here. We're all on a different spiritual path. We all have our own things we want to experience. But a lot of us are here for this. This is the biggest thing humans have experienced since our creation. And I feel like, you know, we all wanted to be here for this. This is big.
Do you find the more that people are becoming consciously aware, like people are talking about it speeding up, time speeding up, or things shifting, changing?
I see it happening. You know, things seem to be speeding up, and I'm seeing, I see a lot of changes with people. You know, there's a lot of, I understand, you know, my goal here is to educate people and give them the opportunity to make the choice of wanting to be the better version of themselves. There are some people that simply will not change. And, you know, it's kind of like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink it. So, you know, you have to understand that some people's, that's not what their spiritual soul purpose is. And, you know, that's where we have to, you know, understand that we can only do so much. It's not our place, really. We can put the information out there, but in reality, that person has to make that decision. You know,
so would that person be playing a role as a teacher so well that they forget that they come from the same?
They can either ignore the fact, or maybe they were here to stay in the 3D realm, you know, because they knew on the soul level what was going to happen here. But maybe, you know, different people come here. It's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like a chess game in a way. So, you know, I always say humanity has been manipulated and played around and moved like a chess piece or like a little puppet. We've been manipulated and moved, told what to do, told, you know, what was good, what was bad. You know, we're given a social security number from the minute we're born. You know, everything's focused on work, 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 you know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, you know, the way I look at it is that I didn't come here to play the game. I came here to end the game. And some of us, you know, we see what's been happening, the manipulation, the control, you know, in holding humanity down, you know, keeping us dumbed down on purpose to prevent ascension, to prevent us from evolving into the better versions. Because some people they make a lot of money and they have a lot of control on the way that it is right now. And they don't want these things to change. There's a lot of people that simply don't want disclosure because they make their money off the fact that there isn't disclosure yet, because they can write or make movies, write books, or, you know, they can sell weapons because they keep people in fear. You know, there's a lot of organizations and a lot of companies that make money on keeping humanity fearful all the time or sick all the time, you know? So I'm here to help wake the world up and help people realize we don't have to be manipulated. So I say, I'm not here to play the game. I'm here to end the game, and I'm here to expose the game.
And when you receive information, like when you started experiencing interdimensional and extraterrestrial in different, like, I'm trying to make sure that I find the right words to phrase it. You know their intention the same as you know their male, female, because it's a vibrational field, right? Like,
yes,
you'll know that what their intention is, so there's not that fear attached to the different races, whatever they may be. Or do you ever have an experience where it kind of catches you off guard, an appearance or a feeling?
This is how it works. When I was very, very young, I had no fears because the world had not influenced me.
Yeah, children are fearless.
And so it was beautiful and it was fun. When I started seeing Star Trek, when I started seeing movies, when I started hearing what other people were saying, I developed a fear. The minute that I started developing fear, I started noticing the frequency exchange between these beings and us. We're in a low, dense, lower frequency. They're in a much higher frequency. So automatically it changed. I started feeling the frequency, and it's overwhelming. It's basically like when you come face to face with them, every fear that you've ever had, it's like seeing, it's kind of like seeing what they call a life review in a near-death experience. It's kind of like you sense all these things all at once, and it totally flips people out. And that's why they are of a higher frequency, and they do not have these kind of feelings. They don't experience fear. They don't experience sadness. They don't experience death. They don't experience grief. They don't experience evil. Okay. So when they're around a human being and they're like all freaking out, screaming, whatever, they black people out. They tap you or either use their higher consciousness and put you in it's like some people call it sleep paralysis, which you can't move. Then some people, they can put you in a trance-like state to where you're fully functional, but but they have your brain like in a sedated state, and you have what they call fragmented memories. Okay. So when that occurs, they do not, whatever we feel, they feel 10 times the amount. They do not like it. So they'll tap you out. And that's why people have missing time. It's because they're not going to deal with you if you're just irrational and stuff. Because at the time that these things were occurring, they knew that humans would react this way because of all the fear and stuff. And that's the main thing that we have to get over, is face our fears. So but they also knew that we would be reaching this point in our evolution, which for me, they bounced me ahead so I can explain this. I learned to face my fears. And once I learned to face my fears, and it did not happen overnight, it took time. And I failed miserably when I was first trying it. But I eventually got to where I could still have the full conscious physical contact with them like I did when I was little. But there was a period where they would knock me out because I couldn't do it.
Did you find when you were stepping into this more consciously aware that same sort of vibrational level of people in awareness, you'd remember each other, or more community would find you or resonate just to support, validate? The same as, like the people going off to the side because you're no longer in the same frequency. So more of the same frequency or above finding you. Yeah.
You find it. What happens is that you tend to gravitate more towards the positive, and those type people seem to gravitate towards you. It's kind of like you become a magnet to that. And it's kind of like what you said earlier. We can create our own reality. So if you go around looking for negative, you're going to find it. You're going to find it. But if you go around looking for beautiful, positive things, you're going to find that too.
Yeah. For some people, that negative drama is their only creative outlet. That's what I think. It's their only creative outlet, and they're content to stay stuck in that muck.
Yeah. And that's all they want to talk about. And that's their life,
So I'm like, see the bottom of my shoes it's the only time you're going to see me running.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah. This is like, it's really deep. And that's why I keep saying this is really deep. This is about human beings we are the disclosure. Disclosure is not the fact that extraterrestrials are here and we're not alone. We are not alone. We've never been alone. There's evidence of them being here. They were here before us. They're a billion years ahead of us in evolution. What is the disclosure here is human beings figuring out who they are, our uniqueness, our hidden abilities, our hidden gifts. We can learn to use frequency to heal ourselves. We can use frequency to overcome, we can live longer lives. We can cure diseases. There's so many things. The opportunities are amazing that can happen in our future once we realize that we can leave this 3D negative world and start changing our lives for the better.
And once you start moving forward, you don't go backwards.
No, you don't. You don't. You don't.
And you don't want to.
No,
and it's
it's
uncomfortable
like
to
so
be around.
rewarding. Yeah.
It's uncomfortable to be
it's hard to explain that to people that haven't even made an effort. They just like shake their head. But once you start trying it, it encourages you to keep on. All you got to do is try. Yeah.
So Carolyn is asking, so what we have heard about people being abducted and experiencing pain from ETs using needles to extract blood or etc. from them. They didn't tap them out to not feel pain. That seems reasonable if they don't have feelings of fear, grief, but pain, ? They have no empathy then. They don't like to feel our feels, so they tap us out for their sake, not about us. She's asking.
Well, it's just like I don't like to be around negative people. It brings it drains me. It drains them to be around negative humans. And they do not use needles or anything or drain blood or they don't do those things. That is misinformation from things that people have in their data bank of knowledge. That's things, possibilities that they think may have happened. The point is they are blacked out and their brain is trying to fill in this missing time, this missing bits. They are 1 billion years ahead of us in evolution. And let me explain this to you. All right, you and I, our technology, you and I are talking on our laptops, technology, or your computer, my laptop. If I want to go outside, I have to take my laptop with me. It is a separate entity. For extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, actually all extraterrestrials are interdimensional. None of them are from our 3D realm. They're all outside. They're all dimensional beings. And the government's coming out with that now. But anyway, so if I want to go outside, I have to take it because it's a separate entity. For all of the extraterrestrials, all of them, their higher consciousness is their technology. They do not use computers and tools and all these things. They can manifest anything they want or need through their consciousness. Their UFOs, their craft, are living conscious beings. When they fly, they hook up consciously. The pilot hooks up with the craft that is a living conscious being. They connect. They pick the desired location and zap, they go. They don't use fuels or propulsion systems or anything like that. They use their higher consciousness to do these things.
So, the recordings that we may have heard from people having their hypnosis sessions would be a downloaded thought form from something they've been exposed to.
Well,
during their like a different experience, not necessarily an interdimensional experience.
A lot of people will tell you that hypnosis is a great thing. A lot of researchers will tell you that
it personally scares me.
Yeah, you can be influenced into anything. I personally went and had it done, and I didn't learn anything I didn't already know. You know, if anything, it encourages you to think about and come up with these things. You know, I mean, I don't want to say, I personally think that whatever we need to know, it's already in our mind, and we can do that through our own meditation and stuff. I don't think we need outside sources for these things.
And I've always
I'll tell you what.
I think there's always positive and negative, and could there be positive and negative with different races as well too, whether they are extraterrestrial or interdimensional?
No, they have all evolved past the negative 3D realm. This is the negative realm, and they have evolved past that now.
So Vanessa's asking, what do they want us to know about? So do you feel what they're wanting us to know is to evolve?
Absolutely. Some of the things they took my son, and both of my sons are contactees and have the same experiences. One has the Kundalini experiences as well. The youngest one, the second one, I don't know why I said third. There's three of us. But anyway, if he's had a Kundalini, he hasn't told me, but they both have physical contact. But anyway, they sent the oldest son and I to Mexico. And we were there for 7 days. We were up in the mountains with an indigenous tribe called the Zapotec. And they wanted us to be around these people because they are a dying race. They were on the verge of their ascension, and it just fell through because their younger generation basically left the tribe. So they wanted us to understand the impact of that, how, not being able to hit your ascension, how it impacts a culture. And they would come to see us every night. They never would take us both at the same time, although we were in the same room, and we would wake up and see that they, the three that they would send for my son are not the same three they would send for me. So we figured that out. But they took me outside and they took their hands like this. And there was a forest all around me. I was in a cabin, and they said, everything is alive. And all of a sudden, when they did that, I could start to see the trees talking to each other, plants talking to each other, animals talking to each other. And what they were trying to tell me is that everything on this planet is a living conscious being, including Earth. Earth is a living conscious being. Our air, our water, everything, all of the trees and plants are living conscious beings. They all communicate. We simply cannot see these things because we're locked in the 3D realm, and our visual range can only go so far. And we only have the 5 senses to use to understand the world around us. But there's life going on all around us. So what they're trying to tell me, or what they showed me, is that they are all interdimensional. They are all outside our dimension, and they're not as far away as we think they are.
Yeah.
They're all around us. They're all around us. And they proved to me they are in the room they can be in the room with me right now. They can be in the room with you right now. We don't see it, but they proved to me, and they've moved things around to prove to me, to give me that affirmation. So just because we can't see them, they can see us. We can't see them. And they're not hiding from us in our skies and in our air and stuff. We simply can't see them. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're all over the place, So they're in our air. They're in our water. They've got bases all around our planet and stuff. They're all over the place. We just can't see it yet. So as we evolve, and that's why SETI and things of this nature, all of our technology is designed for our 3D 5 senses limitations. So
that was a question that I had wrote down for you, is how technology limits.
We can't, our technology is not compatible. They're above ours, and we are just not able to reach outside that. But they know that, and they're watching us. And we're getting real, real close to it. We're getting very close. I mean, we're having this conversation right now. So, we're getting really close. And that's why they're so interested in all of us, is because we are going to have open contact, because we're just knocking on the verge of being able to have that communication with them. And we will understand they are not gods. They are not angels. They are races of beings that are billions of years ahead of us. Earth has nothing they need or want. We have nothing they need or want from us. They've been around before we ever were. If they wanted to eliminate us or take over something, it would have already happened. They see us as children, juvenile children. We live a very, very short life compared to any other beings, and there's many, many universes and many, many galaxies, and we live the shortest amount of time out of all living beings around. So we're different, we're unique. There's not others like us.
I have you watched Avatar, the movie Avatar.
I love it. Yeah.
Me too. I say I'm like Jake. I'm crashing around in the forest at the beginning when he doesn't know what he's doing. I said, as much as I've done this work, I still feel like I'm a baby learning new things all the time.
Absolutely. And my son and I, that's what's so wonderful about them having these experiences like I did. We have very deep conversations, and honestly, we feel like we are alive on a spacecraft. We're in stasis, and this is our avatar, and this is the dream. This is the dream. What we're living down here is the dream. And when we leave our vessel, that's when we realize, oh, wow, that was a dream.
Yeah. My kids have laughed at me because I've gone outside with my flashlight at nighttime going, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I'm ready to play a different game. Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Contessa, I want to read your question just so that you know that I've seen it, because Contessa was saying, or she's asking, so ghosts really are these beings and not ghosts at all? And that,
no, I'm not saying that.
It's a different energy. You can't get rid of energy. So when the meat suit goes, that energy is there, and it's the same thing. It's hard to explain. It's not far away, like people get taught that heaven is way far away, or that they're not. It's like they are in
right
here.
Well,
they're right here.
Another thing too, ghosts are not physical. Extraterrestrials are physical. Interdimensional, like the elders and stuff, they can be etheric or they can be physical. They can do both things. But like the Greys, the Nordics, and by the way, they don't go by those names at all. That's just humans come up with those names. They don't call themselves stuff like, they don't label themselves like you were talking about earlier, like you called your guide Bob, but they don't call themselves by anything. Their frequency is who they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it was interesting to me when I was learning all of that, because it was really bucking the system. It was really bucking against what was being taught, that you needed to know these names and it needed to be in these categories. And I was, that's not my experience. Like, that's just not my experience. So yeah, I can't go back to where you are at. And it's not how I'm raising my children. Like, and the words do matter.
I wanted to talk about that ghost thing, if you don't mind. My son and I talk about this a lot. So maybe perhaps they are tears in time, and what we're seeing is either the past or the future, and those are the ghosts that are, they're alive in their, or maybe they're a parallel world, and we're getting glimpses of a parallel world. So in that, they're really not ghosts where they are. We are the ghosts to them as well.
That's the movie The Other Side, or The Others. The Others with Nicole Kidman. Yeah. And I mean, those have to come from somewhere, right? Some writer got that plop or aha to start planting the seed for us. So in some ways, I guess media, but
this stuff gets deep.
I know. James, thank you for reminding me. I do have to pause just for a quick second to do our station ID, and then we can come right back into our conversation. So if you are joining us now, thank you so much for being here. You are listening to Spirit Switchboard. I am your host, Carrie-Lynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. 105.3 in the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM out of New Orleans. You can check out all of the great shows that UPRN Network has on their website, uprntalkradio.com, and anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcasts, those podcast streaming platforms. There's thousands of archive shows for you to enjoy and listen to. If you are liking what you are hearing and seeing through Spirit Switchboard, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Let your friends and family know. know all about us. We are here every Friday, airing live at 6:10 p.m. Eastern. Today on the show, we have Nancy Thames talking about shifting awareness, time for disclosure. And it's time for disclosure. We are the disclosure. You are the disclosure is how you it's like a mantra, I guess. It's your calling card and how you want to teach people and encourage and inspire people and raising their conscious awareness. Thank you for being here. Contessa, I hope that that helped answer your question about ghost. There's so many different possibilities to it too, right? Dimensional time shifts, all of those things.
Somehow I think all these things, paranoia, the Bigfoot, cryptids, everything, they're all connected in some way. They're all they're all connected in some way.
I agree. Interdimensional, time flips, all of it. Mm-hmm. Ultimate realities overlaid on top of each other. Agreed. It's just more than we can. I don't know. It's more than I can personally handle at this moment.
Well, that's the point. Even for me, they're teaching me, and they've been working with me for 64 years, but I can only digest so much at a time. So when I was 30 and they showed me myself, the vision of me watching myself being born, the vision, they told me to always choose the color blue. They told me to take lots of herbs, and, they told me all kinds of things. I remember, I heard everything they said. Did I understand it all? No. All I knew is that I was a girl from Tennessee and Mississippi. And, I just was like, what? What is all this? And it took me a long time to digest and understand the real meaning of all that, oh, I incarnated here. Oh, I was one of them. Oh, what? And this is big. This is a lot. And, we have to understand that every day we're alive, we're going to learn more and more new things. And the best thing about being intelligent is the understanding that the more we know, the more we realize we don't know, and we're always going to be, our perceptions and things are always going to be changing as we acquire and reach higher levels of awareness and understanding. And our visual ranges are going to open up. We're going to start to see more UFOs. And if you've noticed,
that was a question that I wrote for you, because this last week has been crazy.
Yes, it's going to happen more and more. Our visual range, even in the paranormal, more of that is going to start. You're going to start seeing more Bigfoot. You're going to start seeing, because they're dimensional beings, you're going to start seeing all these different things. Everything is going to start occurring because our visual range. And these things happen very, very slow in a divine way, because if it happened overnight, it would be, people would flip out. People would freak out. It is evolution. That's what they always tell me. Be patient. Let evolution run its course. It is a divine plan, and it's designed to be a very slow process so that it can be absorbed by all of humanity, because this is a worldwide phenomenon. This is the whole world. We're all going through this.
But I maybe it's the 3D part of me that still hasn't quite evolved. I feel that I have evolved well in my conscious awareness, but I have growing impatience for those people who do not want to move forward. So I do tolerance
too, because I have family members, people I love, and I'm very torn about, I don't know.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity for practicing healthy boundaries. Sorry, I do not have the mental space or capacity to handle this right now.
Yeah.
Later. Trying to find, so I still try to find a way to say it that honors who I am, and not go backwards and have that
Yeah.
conversational
Well,
sort of
here's what they said to me. Every individual, child, mother, father, grandmother, sister, brother, everybody has a soul plan. They have their own path. And just because we don't agree with what their soul path is doesn't mean that that was not their choice. You know, so you have to look at it from that's what they want. You know, as hard as it is, but you have to look at it that way.
And that, thank goodness for free will, and we have the choice to not engage. That's free will is there. Contessa is sharing, I think the world did a reset starting 2020, and it had not stopped.
A lot of things started occurring then. That's when, you know, there was a big increase in a lot of influx of craft coming in. You know, that's when they really started noticing that the consciousness level on our planet was really increasing. And, you know, that's what they're waiting for, is to see our vibrational levels on this planet. And plus our Earth itself is going through, this year has been the strangest year as far as the weather and you know, all these things happening, because it's going through ascension too.
Do you, or have you heard anything about, there was two things that in the last week, it was a blue orb over the Manchester airport. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I saw some articles on it.
Do you get heads up? So it's something that people ask me quite a bit too. Like, do you get the heads up? And I'm like, I can't be the heads up to absolutely everything that's going on.
No, nobody can.
But do you get the heads up when they're going to be? Because there's a lot of video over the last week of even more sightings of UAPs, if that's what we're calling them now. Yeah, a lot. Crash in Sweden.
There's a lot of there is a lot of government secret private organizations that are putting things out there now. They know something big is fixing to occur, and they're trying to play with all their toys and trying to work things out. And, you know, they're taking the International Space Station down in parts and dropping it into the ocean. So they're trying to clean up our outer space areas. So I think they know that we're going to get some motherships coming in here.
So thanks for being here, Howie. Our dear friend Howie is the owner of the Rift Nation Network and host of the Orion Effect. It's always good when I see your name here. He says we're returning to Moo. Lots happening. There's so much.
There was an article today that there's an 8th continent starting to surface as well.
Shush, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I don't know if it's or not. I haven't flown over there to check it out, but
or tapped into it. So do you think that when we are tapping in, when we're going within and we're getting our connections to our divine team and our team, including extraterrestrials, interdimensional beings, that we're all receiving at different levels at different times, so that the community that we're living in or the people that we reach, we are inspiring that group at that level from the different places we're at?
So. Yeah, and I think that we're all like doing our own little parts. You know, there's so many roles into this that play together. You know, it's kind of like a domino game. You know, there's all of us doing little different things, but we're all connected. So, and we all play a role in this one way or another. You know, so yeah, and I don't think
including taking care of the planet and the animals and everything else. Like it is all interconnected, and that's such an important piece to remember.
We're connected to everything. You know, they told me that when we were created, everything we ever needed, you know, as far as like medicinal or whatever needs, was put here on this planet, whether it was a flower, bark, tree, element, a rock, whatever, everything we ever needed was here. we should have no diseases. We should have, we should be living much longer lives. So, that's why we're all connected. And that was one thing about being around the Zapotecs in Mexico. That was the most eco-friendly people I'd ever seen in my life. They were poor, but they were very abundant in love and very abundant in their type of eco-friendly resources. They would never cut a whole tree down. They would go around looking for firewood and take only the dead pieces of wood, or if they had to use a fresh branch, they wouldn't cut the whole tree down. They'd only take the part that they need. And with plants, they wouldn't destroy a whole plant. They would leave part of the plant. If they were out collecting mushrooms, they called them a family of mushrooms. They wouldn't take the whole family. If there were 5, they'd take 3 at the most. So they always gave everything a chance to continue on with its own life cycle. So like flowers, they would only take a few, they wouldn't take them all, So we've lost our connections. I think that back in much older times, we were better connected and we grounded more with, our planet. I think that's another thing that we don't do that we should be doing is grounding and going out and spending time in nature and connecting with these things.
I know that, I guess we kind of do here, but I'm from Northern Ontario, and so trees everywhere. It's beautiful. Yeah. Northern Ontario is so beautiful. And when my kids were small, there was a tree, a particular tree that we all resonated with, and we would all talk to that tree all the time. And so we would do it when our very rigid religious neighbors were not really paying attention to us, right? But I think more and more people are aware of that. More and more people are remembering that we have to be respectful of the land and resources and the people around us.
Well, it's just like we were talking about Avatar. That's what they're all about is, not over abusing anything, but being respectful to what give thanks that thank you for being a tree and allow me to have this wood. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a give and take thing, being respectful. And I think once we all learn and get back connected and we start getting on the same frequency with all of the conscious beings on our planet, including planet Earth, I can only imagine how wonderful this planet is going to be. I mean, everything all lined up and things balancing and, oh my goodness, it's just going to be fantastic. And I also think that we're going to see new colors and, new designs, as we progress through this ascension and get into the 4th and 5th. A lot of things.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I've been shown that.
Yeah.
Once as well too, and it was weird for me because there were sounds that were not of a language that I understood, but it was loving in a way that was unconditional that we don't have here, and there were colors that I do not have
exactly
words for at all. But but it made me feel even more tired being here.
My son will talk about that a lot because it's easy when that all these beautiful things are, there. It gets frustrating seeing all the negativity that we live in, with it can be changed.
A waste of time.
Yeah,
I think that's what I feel the most. What I want to pull back from is where I'm seeing people so wasting their time on things that are not the most important things to be worrying about, upset about, engaging with when there's more.
I think our society, the way that we've been raised, is a lot to blame for a lot of our problems. But as adults, we have to use our intelligence and, we have to learn from our mistakes. We have to learn from the things that's happened. Our mistakes and our problems don't define us. We're defined by the changes we make, what we become afterwards. We're like the basically we're just like the butterfly in the cocoon. We're all in this little cocoon, and we're struggling until we finally get out, and then we become the version of ourselves that we were created to be. And that's what we're doing right now.
The
That's what
two words
doing.
that I wrote down that I feel are important are responsibility and accountability. We have a responsibility not just to ourselves, but to everybody else around us. And accountability, like accountability for the choices and that we're making.
And watch our words.
Our thoughts too, because people's thoughts are loud and they have no clue that their thoughts are coming out before their words do. Thoughts are louder than words, and they come out first before the words do. And if you are around energetically sensitive people or people who are consciously aware, we can tell when those thoughts and words and actions are not in alignment.
Yeah.
Not fooling anybody.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, so important. It's important for all of us to raise our vibrational level and going within. Do you have other tips and tools? So meditation is one of them.
Well, our diet is very important. My son, he about once a month he will fast, and fasting has a lot of things about it, good qualities about it. I'm guilty of not always doing these fasts with him. But it does give your body the opportunity to start eating up the dead cells and creating new cells. So it's a good way to stay healthy. But our diets, try to be more cautious of what you're feeding your vessel, because it's not something that we can just do overnight, but it's something that we can start working on little by little. One of the main things, we need to stay away from alcohol as much as possible, cigarettes as much as possible, sugars as much as possible. As wonderful as sugar is, but still, it's something that is not good for us. And just pay attention to eat more healthy raw vegetables, eat more of a vegetable. So, and, start looking at what kind of fillers are in our vitamins and things of this nature. All these things affect our, we are what we eat in a sense.
So do you find if people are being tapped in and going within their higher self or their team of people is going to let us know, like your physical body will let you know what is in alignment for you and what isn't, and it may shift and change depending on your level of consciousness?
Yes, absolutely. I think our body speaks to us. I know I try to eat healthy, but I don't always. I have grandkids.
Well, I don't even use my granddaughter as an excuse. I just know that, and I don't even need the whole thing. I just need a bite or two now from where I used to be. But when I'm up here doing sessions for a long extended period of time in that high vibration, I need a bite out of a Baconator, and I do it without guilt, and then I'm good. And I know there's other ways of grounding, but I promise, like I take 2 bites and then I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
But I mean, we still have to have these outdated belief systems and choices that we have to move past. But yeah, I'm not so much sugar, but that hamburger. Yeah.
Well, and fluoride too, because right now I think it's important that our pineal glands, we need to get our pineal glands activated. Most people's is calcified. And that is what makes us more intuitive and a little bit psychic. So if we start eliminating the fluoride, fluoride's in our toothpaste, it's in our water. So we need to be more conscious about certain things like that, because I think it's important that we try to be more intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All of those things matter. And I feel a big part of, if we're talking about soul families or soul contracts, like I know that my kiddos came to help push me to remember so that I would make all the right choices in order for them to be able to fill their purpose.
Yeah, that's what my kids are doing. They feel like they're here to assist me. And, and then I feel like, when I decide to leave this world, then they've got their roles to play. But yeah, but the thing is, we all made a choice to be here. I just wish everybody would wake up and realize how wonderful and important and intelligent they are, and get to know, get in tune with their inner soul self, because it's so rewarding. And when you know the things about the universe, you can enjoy your life here on earth more. You don't have the worries and the fears. It eliminates the fears,
It comes back to accountability, though. If they take accountability for the good stuff, it means they have to take accountability for it was shite.
Yeah.
And no one wants to take accountability for that part. It's easier to blame out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And we'll still have some mishaps and things. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but it's how our behaviors, how we deal with things, our behaviors, and, how we avoid wars and horrific type things,
Would you say another maybe misconception would be the amount of contact? Like it's always there, the same as they're always potentially in our space. It's just a matter of whether we are open in this moment, like ready for the conversation, not ready for the conversation, but it's always there. It's 24/7 flow.
Absolutely. I think everybody's had some type of contact in it. They dismiss it. They think, oh, that was odd, and they dismiss it, and I think that probably in everybody's dream state at one time or another, they've been approached, and, that's the main thing is that,
Could you talk about that more? The dream state stuff. Could you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So I think that, consciousness is something that we are just now working on understanding, and we don't understand it totally. But I think there's different levels of consciousness that we fall into during our sleep state, and I think that's where we will actually see leadovers into our parallel lives, and that's where we can have downloads and interactions from these beings. We'll just call them inhuman intelligence. They will come in and enter our dream states because we have no fear and no boundaries. In our awake state, we flip out. We don't know how to handle what we don't understand, but they can approach us differently, and they have the ability. They can, a lot of times, I know for me, they use different images to comfort me. They don't change into the image. They'll take something from my mind that I'm comfortable with, and then that will see like a projected image of that is what they would do. So they can enter our
give me an example of that. Are you comfortable sharing an example of that?
Yeah, when I was little and stuff, and like say maybe I didn't feel good or whatever reason. So say for example, my mother had been reading me a bedtime story. So when they're there and so say I was a little irritable or whatever, they would project the image of a storybook character, a storybook character like Snow White or whatever. And then it would be like Snow White would be in the room, and I'd be interacting with like Snow White or something. And then, I've been in the hospital before, and they wanted to come see me, and they appeared in my room and said my name, and I looked over, and they appeared as they were wearing green scrubs, and they appeared as a doctor, but it was the face of one of our previous presidents. So I was like, it was almost comical, I knew exactly what they were doing, but it made sense.
And I mean, no disrespect, but there was like no medications that would make you a little loopy.
No.
And I'm meaning no disrespect in asking that question, just ask them.
Yeah, no, not at all. And that's how I knew what it was, is because they were there just to, they wanted to talk to me. And also I've been places where they you know, they'll in my house or wherever, and they'll take a clock that's sitting in front of me and they'll just start moving it to 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, because they want me to, and they've moved like certain things around because they want me to know that they're all around us. They're all around us. We just can't see it yet.
When I'm in sessions with clients,
Yeah.
Their loved ones, clients always ask, like, are they upset with me? Are they angry with me? Are they proud of me? And those, their loved ones on the other side, they have gone through whatever transitions that they did, but they're always coming from a source of love, always. And it's not anger that I feel from them or frustration. It's not even quite sadness. But it's that they see this other potential that's not being tapped into. So would you say when you're tapping into, or you're having these experiences with extraterrestrials or interdimensionals, it's the same sort of emotions? Like Contessa, because Contessa is asking, I often wonder what they think of us with all of the bad situations going on in the world. How could we ever expect them when some humans treat each other so badly? So do you think they come in heavy-hearted, I guess, like that we're taking our time? Or is it I don't know, am I asking that the right way?
Well, you're asking me, I think you're asking me, how do they feel about how we're...
Yeah, Contessa's asking how what they think of us and the way that we're progressing with our awareness and how we treat one another. And
they know fully all these things. And they also know that some of us will not ascend. Some of us will not. Some of us will. And, you know, it's up to the individual, you know, it's up to each individual to make that decision. I know that they understand what it's like to be human. I just found out my mother has cancer and it's terminal. And so there's a lot of this kind of stuff that I know that I have an understanding now that death is not the way that we see death. Death is really just a soul transfer. You know, we are in a vessel and we go back to our source, from where we came from. But still, you know, the human side of me, I'm very upset. I'm going to miss my mother. And, you know, I don't like the way that she's going to suffer and go through chemotherapy and all these things. These are very hard things for us to understand because we were raised to feel this way, you know. But
there's a grieving period.
Yeah, but I also know that, you know, she's going to be going into something beautiful, you know. But that, you know, you try to explain that to people, and that's not what some people want to hear. You know what I mean? They're not ready to hear all that. But for me, they knew exactly how I was going to feel, and they showed up in my room. One of them got up close to me, and because of the frequency exchange between them and us, or me, you know, it takes me a while to get used to it. And my stomach was feeling like very butterflies, but I was still fully conscious and awake, but I was dealing with it. And they just started like rubbing my tummy. You know, they understand that we're not perfect, and, you know, we're human. You know, we're not going to understand everything about the world around us at this point. You know, our brains can only handle so much, and they understand all that. They are very benevolent, very, very patient, very loving, and they truly know what it's like to be human, and they know it's hard for us. And that's why they'd like to see us change the human experience. You know, we have the opportunity to change the experience of being human. You know, the future humans, if they can come and be born and know their soul pass, know that there's no such thing as that. I know I always thought that when we died here, that was it. That was
really?
it. You either go to heaven or hell, you know, that's it. So, there's a lot of people that think, well, you're just dead. You're 6 foot under. Some people think, well, you'll go to heaven or hell. But from what I know now is that we go back to source, and it's just a soul transfer. We go through a transition period. And, we're in an area. As a matter of fact, I've had 3 near-death experiences. 2 I remember. And that was part of something that they wanted me to experience. So, and I know that there's certain levels that we go through. And I know that, we think all these things because we've been told to think this way. But, for them, there is no such thing as death. It's just a matter of changing the vessel you're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how I've seen it as well, too.
Yeah, but humans will go through a review, yes. a review, that kind of stuff. But yeah.
So. And making those choices. I'm going to send us off on different crop circles, just because I know my time is really short with you. I've only got a few minutes left. And so I know that I wanted to ask you about crop circles and your thoughts. Is it language?
I think they're trying to teach us about frequency. Everything's about vibrational frequency and, higher consciousness. And they're trying to show us that there's, we're using SETI and all these different ways with our technology, but there's other ways of frequency to communicate. There's colors and frequency, so there's just so much that we don't know that we're just now tapping into. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this is that our world is changing and we're going to be changing with it. And we're going to be having opportunities galore come available for us. And it's going to be an amazing time. I just, I worry about a lot of things, but we can't worry. It's like they say, be patient, let evolution run its course.
It's really having a sense of play like a little kid, and a sense of wonder. I used to run summer camps for kids that were having experiences like I did when I was a kid. And again, my kids too, like in what they were teaching me. And we were talking about chakras and, I'm going to say the old way, but I know that it's still the perceived way of seeing all of the colors in a specific order. And when I would work with the kids would say, but I see this symbol, and they would draw a symbol. And I go, well, that's fabulous. So this is what it is for you. And it's okay. And they would have this different way. And that was such an eye opener for me. And knowing that, there's so much more. And if we have,
I think all the children, I think all the children being born are going to be so intelligent and so aware of all these things. And we'll be learning a lot from them, I feel like.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And because I have a granddaughter that's 4, but my oldest son is 31. And when he was 4, he said he remembered being somewhere else. And
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, friends with his brother. And they chose to be brothers in this lifetime and to help me with my journey. And we weren't talking about any of those things at that point. I was pushed to remember because they were talking about what they knew.
Yeah. They were here to wake you up.
Yeah. No wonder why I felt like a little baby crashing around like Jake from Avatar smashing the forest out.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
I saw on your social media that you're going to be speaking. Could you talk about where you're going to be?
Oh, I'm going to be, I think you're talking about, it's going to be a television type show that, it's called Paraflex. It's somewhere, it's going to be done somewhere around Chicago, something like that. She hasn't given me the exact dates of it or anything. This was just like the beginning promo. So I don't know. I know it's like there's a whole season and I'm like in the first part, but I don't know exactly what month or time. She said she would get that more out to me later on. So, yeah.
And if people want to, because you do a lot of writing,
I do. I love it.
Yeah. And you share that on your social media. Could you share
Sure.
where people can
Yeah,
find?
I have two social media groups on Facebook. Time for Disclosure. We've never been alone. We are the disclosure, which I truly believe human beings are the disclosure here. And then the other one's called ET Realities, uh, Ascension and Beyond. So I have that one. And then I have my website, timefordisclosure.com. So, and I help in a lot of rooms. I belong to a lot of rooms, and they're all work together. So, I think it's a good place for people to share their experiences, to learn things, find out about podcasts, find out about books, find out about shows, find out about magazines, all kinds of things going on all around the world. I try to participate and do podcasts all over the world.
Do a lot of contactees reach out to you? Do you find a
Yes.
lot of,
Yes.
for community, like validation, support?
Yeah. There's a lot of organizations I belong to, and I venture out into them every once in a while, but I get a lot just in my group. There's a lot of people come through, and I used to feature an experiencer each week, a different one, and let them tell their story and stuff. And then it got to where I started getting like people just kind of making fun of it and stuff. So we had to kind of use admin assist and start being like having to review everything. So we had to kind of limit it to and stop doing it for a while.
But I shouldn't have said but. I'm going to roll that back. I have found and observed that the more that we're sharing our light, the discernment that we can see between those staying in those lower vibrations and up here is quick and easy. It is not as hidden anymore. It's right in our face.
Yeah. The more we interact, I think it raises our frequency. It puts us in tune with the right people. Being around like-minded people does wonders for you, does wonders for your soul. It's encouraging. And, you'll see people they become so much happier being able to talk about things that they never were able to talk about. Because I know in my family, I was told not to talk about it. People would make fun of me. So now I can't shut up about it.
My friend Michelle, who I just adore in every way, Michelle is saying, I get it now. We are the disclosure.
Yes, we human beings. Yes, all of us. We are the disclosure. Absolutely. We're unique, wonderful beings, and we have so much to offer the cosmic realm. They are just sitting up there watching us. We are the showcase of the universe, and they're just watching to see if we figure all this out and if we evolve into the next level of being a better version of ourselves. They are very excited for us, very excited, and they're trying to put frequencies of love and benevolent type frequencies all around us to try to assist us, but they can't do everything. So
no, we have to have, again, accountability.
Yes.
We
make our mistakes, we have to learn from them.
When you're doing your writing, does it channel through you? Does it feel like automatic?
No, they come to me like during my dream states and stuff, and they give me ideas, and they just plant things in my mind, So for me, I meditate more than I would say that I channel. I don't really understand what channeling is, because I don't feel like there's one person in particular that I'm talking to. I feel like I'm talking to a whole collective.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's the same for me. I always say they.
Yeah. That's the way I feel. And that's why I don't understand how people think that there's just like one person sitting up there. I think it's kind of like there's just collective consciousness of frequencies, and I'm tapping into it. And I don't think it's like one entity sitting there just waiting for us to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I just don't see
Oh
that.
no, I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
I've had clients and I've tried to be very diplomatic, but I know my
Yeah.
face is giving it away that I'm having a stink eye tight butt moment. Like, what the heck is that? Like, where they're telling me they had somebody tell them they had 18 angels and 2 spirit guides and they had this number. And I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe you did in that moment, but that doesn't mean it's it.
Right. So, you know, I have a problem with that kind of stuff too. So yeah, I'm glad we agree on that.
Yeah, it makes me just, I almost grind my teeth trying to be
I
polite
know.
in
Yeah.
that and still be able to meet them where they're at. And remember that that person is also working from their level of awareness.
Yeah. So you know, I guess we all, but see, that's the
I could
thing.
be stepping in a big pile of poo
All
saying
evolving and we're all ascending and becoming more aware, not on the same level. So what we're understanding, they're not quite there yet, is probably what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not being arrogant. I'm just saying that, you know, the more you work at this stuff, you acquire more. Is how you do it. It's not just going to happen to you. You have to work towards these things.
Yeah, and I don't know about you. I do not feel pulled to read a lot of spiritual books.
No, I don't either.
Because it's coming in so quickly when you're tapping in that some of the books are already outdated because we've already moved forward.
Oh yeah, that's in the past, you know, and that was
I read Stephen
that
King.
was a human's version of their interpretation at their level of consciousness at that time. Yeah. We are way far above that, way far above.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you're gonna think a lot alike. It makes it nice.
Yeah. Michelle is just sharing, I'm excited for all of us. That is a message we need to hear. It's hopeful and reassuring.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being here and
thank you for
sharing your message and yeah, I'm very grateful to share time, space, and energy with you tonight. Thank you to everybody that was in the chat that joined in and commented and asked questions. I appreciate you all so very much. Oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fog. Erin, she is coming on Strange Colorado, Unfinished Business, and I'm having a brain fart about her last name, and I'm so very sorry. But her first name is Erin, and those are her books, and you can find them on Amazon and everywhere else. She is coming on next week to chat about her stories and her books. And if you hang out a little bit longer on the UPRN network, Jeffrey Pritchett is up next with the Church of Mavis. So I hope everyone has a great week, and I will see you back here next week on Spirit Switchboard. Thank you to the United Public Radio Network, yes, and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM out of New Orleans. Good night, everybody.
Happy holidays. Bye.